I want to warn you that the twists and turns in today's story are going to shock you.
Today.
This can happen to any child, anywhere, at any time.
A child in danger.
You had no idea that he was going in her bedroom at night.
A mother in denial.
You walk in on your 9-year-old daughter and find your husband.
Now, after 2 decades, the daughter needs answers.
You continue to live with him, with your daughter in the house.
I did not know.
You caught him.
A shocking Dr. Phil.
Even now you're not saying, I'm sorry, how can I ever make it up to you? You're saying you have an attitude. Well, hell yes, she has an attitude.
Behind closed doors.
You don't allow your child to be fed like a sacrificial lamb to some that is abusing her. Coming up. Let's do it. I want you to get excited about your life.
Here we go, in 10.
Stand by, camera 6.
If it's happening now, we're going to deal with it now.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by, A, and roll A. Check in. Go, Dr. Phil.
If you are a parent, or even if you're not, you know there is no greater pain than seeing your own children hurt. The worst threats in this world come from predators that sexually molest our children. Now, I want to warn you that the twists and turns in today's story are going to shock you. Our first guest, Heidi, was sexually molested by her stepfather, John. Not once, not twice, but for 12 years. Even more shocking, her mother knows it because she walked in on it happening when the child was 9, yet stayed with the molester for years as it continued to happen. Now today you're going to meet the victim, Heidi, the mother, Susan, and even the molester, John. Now watch and listen carefully because this can happen to any child, anywhere, at any time. Take a look.
My stepfather molested me when I was 5. My mother did not do anything, and I really hated my mom for that.
Heidi has completely turned her back on me. She's completely put me out of her life.
I cannot comprehend as a mother allowing somebody to violate your child.
I was a victim too.
I would wake up in the middle of the night and catch him in my room fondling me.
John probably abused her for 12 years.
My mother married my stepfather, John, when I was 4.
When Heidi was 9 years old, I walked in on my ex-husband molesting my daughter.
I was so relieved and thankful when she caught him molesting me.
My ex-husband's reaction was it didn't faze him. There was no remorse, there was no guilt. I stayed with my ex-husband about 6 years after I discovered it. I didn't believe that it would happen again.
He continued to molest me. My mother did not ask me how I was doing. My mother did not hug me. She went and sought out consoling from her friends.
I blamed her.
I can't even grasp why anything wasn't done. My mom was supposed to be my protector.
I've never been exposed to this situation before. I was 27 years old. You're young, you're ignorant, you don't know anything about life.
Charges should have been pressed against my stepfather for molesting me.
I didn't bring charges against my ex-husband because I had to protect my children. He would have been put in prison. I had no income, no car, no career. I had nothing. By this all happening, I've lost a relationship with my daughter. She has told my ex-husband that she forgives him, but she could never forgive me. I'm her mother. She wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. My greatest fear is that I'm going to die and my relationship with my daughter will never be resolved.
My mom is just a manipulative, selfish person. How in the world could you allow somebody to abuse your child and stay with them?
How do you know that somebody is molesting your innocent, precious child and you stay with them?
When I found out about this, we were in the military station in Germany, and I did contact the authorities. Heidi was taken to the military hospital, and it was justified by the doctors there. I was called into his company commander. I was called into his first sergeant. Everybody knew about it, and they basically told me that me and my children will be sent back to the United States and basically dropped off. We would have to find our own transportation to wherever we were going. I had 4 kids at the time, and I had no job, no income, no car, no career, no nothing.
Okay, but what's your point?
I had no way to take care of my children.
So still to this day, you still justify it?
There's no justification.
But no, but there is. I just asked you how you made a decision, and you've gone on to tell me all the reasons why you knew somebody was molesting your daughter, and not only did you not take her out of the situation, you didn't stop him from continuing to molest her.
I did not know he was continually molesting her.
How did you not know?
I had absolutely no idea.
Wait, what do you mean you had no idea? You caught him doing it when she was 9.
Exactly,
Listen,
and I went to
I'm asking you the hard questions because there's no point. You can't change what you don't acknowledge.
That.
You want a relationship with your daughter,
right?
And you're still. I don't get it.
How do you think I feel? I went to counseling.
I know how you feel.
I had a chaplain
You're telling
tell
me how you feel. You're saying you feel like you had no option.
A chaplain told me that once a pedophile is exposed, that most likely it stops.
No,
that's what they told me.
Who told you that?
I was 27 years old. The military chaplain.
A military chaplain told you that. That military chaplain is full of crap.
I didn't know.
Okay? He's full of crap.
That's what he told me.
A pedophile will typically, throughout their life, if not apprehended, molest between 100 and 400 victims.
And
don't tell me that come on, where was your common sense?
It was in 1983. It was not exposed like it is now.
Well, let me be sure I've got this right. You walk in and find your husband performing oral sex on your 9-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm. And at that point, he just says, well, you know, whatever, and goes to play softball.
At that point, I had no idea what happened. I don't know what happened to me. I think I had a mental breakdown. My girlfriend found me in the basement, in the garage, crying.
Well, that would make a whole lot more sense than what you're telling me, which is I wouldn't have had military benefits and had to get my own ride from somewhere if they sent me back to the States. They wouldn't have had to send you back to the States. I would have walked across the ocean if I had to get away from a predator. If you had a breakdown, you had a breakdown. That's a different story.
I do not know. From the time I walked in, I seriously do not know what happened to me.
Look, I'm asking you the hard questions because there's no way you're going to get a relationship with your daughter if you don't get real about this so she knows that you at least get it. Look, I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, Heidi is going to join us. She's going to sit right here, and coming up, I'm going to talk to the molester and see what he has to say about this as well. We'll be right back.
I asked my ex-husband, did you marry me for my daughter or did you marry me for me? He told me that because I was gone all the time at night, that he turned to Heidi, my daughter, for companionship. It's very, very sick.
Talking today about a very disturbing situation. We're dealing with molestation from the home. It often comes from the inside out instead of the predators from the outside that we used to think were the biggest threat. Now, Susan admits that she made mistakes. She is Heidi's mother who discovered that her husband was molesting Heidi, we now know, starting around age 4 or 5. After discovering at age 9, she chose to stay with him, and the molestation continued for another 6 or 7 years. And Heidi, you want to come on out? How you doing? Heidi, you've been listening from off camera just over at the producer stand, right?
Yes.
And I've seen you over there just about to explode.
Yes. I cannot believe that she said that she took me to the hospital.
You were taken to the
And
hospital.
had people, CID or whoever, she's saying, do something. The only time I was ever taken to a hospital was when your other boyfriend molested me.
I had no idea about
And
any
that's
of
the
this.
only time I can remember.
No, it was not. You were taken. It's in your military records.
No, I don't believe a word you say.
Are you telling me that there was not another molestation that
I
you
had
knew
no
about?
idea about it.
You
I
had no idea?
No, none.
Did she know about it?
Yes.
How did she know?
Because I told her. She was dating the guy.
Somebody's lying here.
Well, I have facts. If you pull her military records, you will see
Well,
she
no,
was
I don't have a
taken
military
to the
record.
hospital.
I have you. And you have to understand
Right.
that your credibility is probably not real great because you've already said you made some hugely bad decisions
Exactly.
here. And if you want a relationship with your daughter, you can't deny her again. She's here now saying, this is what happened. Tell the truth, Mother, so we can deal with
Maybe
this.
she doesn't remember it. I have proof and justification. My best friend in Germany is the one that took me to the hospital. She was justified. It was sewn by the doctor.
Only
Let me
thing
finish.
That you ever did,
Let
you
me
did
finish.
not go to a basement and cry. You went up to Irene's house.
No, I did
you
not.
Left
Irene
me.
found me.
No, I'm sorry. I remember.
You don't remember.
Okay, you're right.
You don't.
Kids
I was
don't usually
found.
forget about being molested.
I don't care whether she forgets or what. It's a fact. My best friend found me in the basement.
It doesn't matter who found you.
We called a
the
hotline.
fact that you didn't do anything
Let me finish.
is ridiculous.
Basically, he was shoved under the rug because he was a military policeman.
I can tell you that child molestation is not something that the military takes lightly. It is not something that I have ever, in my experience of dealing with these things, year after year after year, have found somebody that sweeps something under the rug for some soldier that is victimizing children
I can
in
give you
society.
the name of every single one of them.
Well, we're going to give them an opportunity to respond to this. I'll
can.
guarantee you, because if you think I won't contact them
You can.
and
I
give
would
them
be
an
glad if
opportunity
you
to talk
did.
about this, then I certainly will, because she wants answers. And I guess the question that I have, and that I know you have, because we've talked to you before now, is how in the world you can walk in on your husband sexually molesting your daughter, and you say yourself, at the time, you're saying all this about, well, I had nowhere to go, I had no money, I had no resources, I had no anything, so I just didn't do anything. But you said yourself that at the time, you actually blamed her.
I said in the beginning, I most likely probably did blame her. Yes,
May I say
did. I don't know
something?
why.
Please.
Even if she didn't have anywhere to go through the military because she needed her way paid, she has two amazing parents.
And they were in the process of moving to Texas.
It doesn't matter what it costs. It doesn't matter what it is. You know what? There's no excuse.
So basically, she's just come out here and told us a bunch of lies.
No, it's not a bunch of lies. Heidi,
You're lying. You're
no,
full
I'm
of
not
it.
lying. And you have an attitude, and you even told Tiffany that you wanted to come on stage
Listen,
and destroy
she's
me.
entitled to an
But
attitude,
no,
don't you
because
think?
you don't know the circumstances.
Okay. I do
I
wanna
was
know.
a victim in the circumstances too. I did things wrong. Yes, I handled it completely different. But I have proof of exactly what happened. My best friend found me in the basement. I think I had a mental breakdown. You can doubt me, Heidi. You can shake your head. You can do what you want, but that is what
No.
happened.
As a
I
mother
do not.
myself, we have mental breakdowns quite often, but you know what? You get over it.
No, you
and
don't
you do what's
get
best
over
for
it.
your kids, because that's more important than the selfish value inside of it.
It wasn't selfish.
And if anything ever happened to my kids, anything, I cannot even imagine.
Don't go there, Heidi.
I cannot even imagine.
Don't go where?
She has put her daughter in abusive relationships.
That
Heidi,
is hilarious.
You have with one of your boyfriends.
I did not put my daughter
That's
in
why
any
she went to go
abusive
back and
relationship.
live with Anthony.
No, that is not
Well,
true.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this when we come back.
My My memories from my childhood were not good memories. I remember my mom smoking bongs. My mother would have straws and cocaine, sniffing at the table. She had a lot of flings while being married to John. I'd find her in bed in our home with men. I cannot comprehend a lot of what my mom has done.
We're talking about molestation. Now, the circumstance is that Susan discovered the molestation and yet stayed with the molester and continued to have that molester alone with her children for years to come. We ask Heidi what kind of mother you were outside of this during this time. She didn't give you a good report card. She says you put your son on a leash, that you borrowed money from her when she was living on her own in high school, that you stole a family member's ID and ruined their credit, that you sent your son to Austin, Texas to pilfer on the street pretending he was homeless so he could get money.
Oh my God.
True or false?
True. It is not true.
I want to talk about what we can agree on. Was your daughter molested by your husband?
Yes, he was. Yes, she was.
Did you know it?
Yes, I discovered it.
Okay, you discovered it at age 9 because you walked in on them.
Yes.
All right? At that point, was he remorseful? Did he say, oh my God, this is horrible? Or did he go to play softball?
He went to go play softball.
Okay?
He had no remorse at all.
Can we then agree you continued to stay in that relationship and subject her to this monster, this predator, for another 6 or 7 years?
But I was not aware of it.
Okay, no, we're not talking.
I'm sitting there saying, oh, I was not aware of it.
No, hang on. We're just talking about the facts right now. We'll talk about attitudes and awarenesses in a minute. Is the fact that after you caught him in the act of molesting your daughter at age 9, you continued to live with him, with your daughter in the house for another 6 or 7 years?
Yes.
And during that time, you allowed him to be alone with the children?
Yes.
Knowing that he had molested her?
Yes.
And the fact is that he continued to molest you throughout the next 6 or 7 years?
I would be sleeping, and yes, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and have to yell, get out of my room.
How big was y'all's house, by the way? Did you have like a big rolling mansion?
It was like an L shape. There was bedrooms here and there was bedrooms
Probably
down.
about 800 to 1,000 square feet.
About 800
And then when we
square
were
feet.
in the
And
other...
you had no idea that he was going into her bedroom at night?
I had absolutely
You're in
no
800
idea.
square feet. That's like
It
from
wasn't
here to
800
that
square
camera
feet.
right there.
It was bigger than that.
Okay, 900, 1,000, 1,200, 15,
And where we were
16.
other stations, her bedroom was down in the basement and we were upstairs.
Nothing was happening then. So I don't know if that's-
But
Yes, it was. You told.
and you said that you may have had a breakdown, which didn't last for 7 years.
Yeah.
So it had to be over at some point, right?
But
And so at that
didn't-
point,
I didn't
when the fog
understand what a
cleared,
pedophile does. Nobody understands that. I did not know. And this chaplain...
You caught him!
I was going to counseling, and the chaplain told me that once they're exposed, that it doesn't happen anymore. I didn't know. I didn't know any difference. I was a baby with her, too.
Okay, you were 27.
Right, exactly.
Okay. But let's assume.
It's such a big joke. I love people laughing when they're not in the circumstances. You don't have any idea.
They're not laughing. That's
Yeah, they
anxiety and sarcasm is what you're hearing, because people are outraged at not what you did then, but what you're saying now. What you're saying now. Because now you are saying, look, I was a victim here.
No, I'm not saying, I said I was too. We both were a victim. And yes, I should have done things wrong. Yes, I know I am very guilty of not handling it different. And let me tell you right now, if it happened right this day, I probably would have called every officer in the military to do what I could and protect me and my children. But nobody was there for us.
You know why you say she won't have a relationship with me? Because you refuse to acknowledge her point of view. You refuse to say a child expects a parent to protect them.
Exactly.
I don't care if you had to live under a bridge or go to a shelter. You don't allow your child to be fed like a sacrificial lamb to some that is abusing her. You can't do that, and it's not what you did then. If you say I was on drugs then, I had a mental breakdown then, I was naive then, I didn't know, you may not then, but you know now. And even now you're not saying you're right, I'm sorry, how can I ever make it up to you? You're saying you have an attitude. Well, hell yes, she has an attitude.
What am I supposed to do? I look at her, and all I want to do is grab her and hold her and hug her and tell her how sorry I am, that I was wrong, I made mistakes,
Well, then
I
why-
wasn't
but-
aware, and she sits there with a cocky attitude that I can't even get through to her.
You keep making this about her bad attitude. The fact that she is even willing to sit on this stage with you and address this to me, is the real attitude that I see. And the fact that you think she's got a chip on her shoulder, that she has a lack of trust, you own that lack of trust. You own that chip on her shoulder. You own that attitude. You can't criticize it. And it begins with acknowledging what went wrong at the time. We'll be right back.
The only reason I have more respect for my stepfather than I do my mother is the fact that he owned up to what he did and he's remorseful for it. My mother has never admitted to doing anything wrong.
I cannot figure out why Heidi would have a relationship with my ex-husband, John.
I do not have a relationship with my stepfather now.
When she was 18, she made a special trip to go to visit him. I don't know if anything happened when she went to that visit.
I've never gone to visit him. I don't remember the last time I saw my stepfather.
I asked my ex-husband, did you ever love me? Did you marry me for my daughter, or did you marry me for me? He told me that because I was gone all the time at night, that he turned to Heidi, my daughter, for companionship. It made me sick to my stomach. I wanted to throw up.
That was Susan and Heidi that are here actually today in the aftermath of a tragic situation where Heidi was molested by her stepfather from the very young age of 4 or 5 until she was almost 16 years of age. Susan discovered this happening at 9 years of age, but continued to live with the predator, live with the molester, with her daughter Heidi for several more years. Your mother is saying you have a tremendous attitude, that you've got resentment, that you've got this chip on your shoulder, which I say, yeah.
I think
yeah,
I did for a long time.
Yeah. My point is, what is it that, if anything, that you want from her now? Do you want to have a relationship with your mother? And what would she have to do in order for that to become possible?
Quite honestly, I just would have to see that she's changed, that she's accepted her faults, that she's accepted what she's done, not only to me, but to my siblings.
Why are you so defensive when she says that? You're sitting there with your arms crossed and you're going, oh. You can't even let her finish. Why are you so defensive about it?
Because Heidi's so degrading of me, and there's things that she does, and we don't sit there and put it out there and let people know and let the world know. And there's things she doesn't see and doesn't remember. She went at 18 years old and stayed in his military barracks with him. I have a picture of it, and he can justify it.
Okay, what is your point?
What was the excuse then for her exposing herself to him continually?
The excuse was, I remember, you told me to pick up my brother and sister and bring them to
Your brother
Missouri.
and sister weren't there.
Where were
He was living in the military barracks.
Okay, listen, I really believe that you just don't get it.
I do get it.
No, you can't get it if you say, how could she? Why would she? How could this happen?
Because she continually kept exposing herself to him when she was older. Why?
I'm an adult. I know how to protect myself.
No, you were not. You were 16
myself when I was
and you were
11.
18.
Hello? I think I could protect myself and knew what I was doing.
She's making up stories that are not
my
true.
goodness.
That's why she's trying to make it where she was justifiable for things that happened and that I'm not. I didn't get protection for her.
Please listen to me. I have such a rush in my head right now. If I don't say it, I'm just going to explode. You say, how could she do this? How could she do that? Because the dynamic between a molester and their victim can go on for years or a lifetime. You subjected her to that. You allowed that to continue. You can't poison her, contaminate her, change her, and then criticize the result. Do you not get that when you are molested, it changes who you are?
I know nothing about a molester.
Then you need to learn. You need to learn before you start criticizing. What you want to do is she gives you attitude, so what you want to do is start taking her down and not say, well, she did this and she did that and she did this. That's exactly what you're doing.
I want to do that.
No, but
I
you've
said
done
she
it my
can't.
whole life.
She's sitting there doing that. No, I have not, Heidi.
I don't want to argue. I want to be.
I don't
want to be
wanna
like
argue
have a
either.
real conversation here. This is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It really is.
What is ridiculous?
Not to understand anything.
You're right. I don't understand.
No, not you. And
really.
see, exactly.
I
And
don't
how
understand.
can I talk to that?
You can talk to it by not being so defensive. You are
Because
completely and totally defensive.
Because I'm being degraded constantly. Why wouldn't I be defensive? Like you sitting there saying you can't believe the military would do that to us. I can justify everything I've told you. I can tell you every name I went to, every officer.
Does it matter?
Yes.
No, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm telling you that you don't get. You are a mother. It's not the military's job to protect your child. It's yours.
I was in a foreign country. I couldn't leave without them.
Are you trying to tell me that the military told you you must take your daughter back and put her in the hands of that molester?
Basically, yes. Oh, everybody's sitting there going, oh.
That's because that is a load of crap. You are giving the arguments that you had then to justify your behavior when, as you sit here today, you know better.
Yes.
You know that your number one responsibility in this world was to protect this and her brothers and sisters.
And my children and just left and put him in prison and just done whatever. I should have raised Holy
Absolutely,
Cain. That's what I
unequivocally,
should
that is
have
true.
done.
Yes.
Agreed?
I know I should have.
Does it help at least to hear her say that?
It's the first time, and yeah, that's great.
I know what I should have done.
But
But I had a 4-month-old and a
there's no
20-month-old.
excuse.
You just screwed it up.
Oh, no, I'm just saying.
No.
I know.
You were doing so good, and then you had to put a but in there. But I had a 4 and a 2.
Okay,
Listen,
I'm wrong.
I put women in shelters all the time. I refer
no
them to
shelters
shelters.
in Germany.
There are shelters in the
doing it
United
again.
States. There are places to go
Right.
if you had to go
Yes,
under a
yes,
bridge.
You're right.
There are places to go. You don't take your daughter back and trade her for rent.
Right.
But
There's another player in this thing, and it's the actual molester in this. He doesn't want to come on the stage here for reasons of his own. He's backstage, and I'm going to go back and talk to him for a few minutes when we come back. just joining us, we're dealing with a situation today where a young girl has been molested for a number of years. The twist in this story is that her mother knew about it and continued to live in the home with the predator, making the daughter exposed to additional molestation. John is the molester. He's backstage, did not want to come on stage. I'm going to go in and have a talk with him now and see what his position on all of this is. John, Dr. Phil.
How you doing?
So we're calling you John today, and we're shooting you from behind only, okay? That's important because I'm on a quest for some truth here about what's going on in this situation, because I'm trying to heal a family and I'm trying to heal a relationship, and you have been a big problem in this situation because you sexually molested this innocent child for a number of years, correct?
Correct.
And you admit to that, right?
Yes.
You were actually caught doing this by this child's mother when she was 9 years old, correct?
The best of my knowledge, she assumed more than she actually saw. I don't think, but my memory is very, very faded. But yes, she...
But you're not equivocating.
No.
And I'm just trying to get to some truth here about what went on. You were molesting the child.
Correct.
Whatever she walked in on or didn't walk in on, you were molesting the child.
Correct.
And you continued to after that.
Correct.
Now, at this point, did it ever occur to you that you were destroying a child's life?
At that time, not really, no.
How many victims have you had in your life?
She's the only one.
She's the only one that you've ever done this with. Now, listen.
I'll take that back to the first time. There was a girlfriend of hers, and it was, I don't know if it was her self-defense mechanism, but she brought a friend in to, I guess, take the pressure off her.
Okay, now,
But that was the only other time.
Understand, we're shooting you from behind. You're in disguise, and I have reluctantly agreed not to use your name.
Thank you.
So you have nothing to hide here.
Correct.
But the truth.
Correct.
Now, you and I know she's not your only victim. And I know of other circumstances because I've got private investigators and I've drilled down on this. And I don't want to make trouble for you, but I don't want you lying to me either.
I'm not lying to the best of my knowledge.
You're telling me this is the only child you've ever molested. That's not true.
I didn't say that. I admitted to the other child.
No, you admitted to one other.
Correct.
And that's not the only other.
It's assumptions on the other parts.
Okay, so that's your story and you're sticking to it?
It's the best I can remember. Like I said, my memory is very, very faded
I don't know
on
anything
it.
about it.
Okay, well, that's a convenient fading. Now, John, come on.
It's not.
At this point, you've never been charged, you've never been convicted, you're not a registered sex offender.
No.
Do you consider yourself a pedophile?
Yes.
Do you consider yourself a child molester?
Yes.
Okay, but you're asking me to believe that just this one child, Heidi, and her friend.
Right.
And she brought a friend in, and so you preyed upon the friend as well.
It was. I didn't start it. She was curious, and she pushed it, and but I didn't stop it. So, it's the same thing.
I wonder what Heidi will say about this.
I've talked with her several times. I've visited her. She's visited me. And I've tried to be as open as I possibly can on it to let her know that it wasn't her fault.
And you said that at the time that you went this direction because you needed companionship and Susan was never there.
That was, from what I remember, that's the feeling that I had. I was looking for something, and it manifested in this way.
Why did you not get charged and put in jail at the time?
I believe my ex-wife was trying to do the best thing for the family as far as me being the breadwinner, the medical, just a lot of stuff that the family, I could help the family more from that position than I could from behind bars.
Help the family. You didn't have companionship, but because you had the power of the dollar and the power of the medical, you were able to continue to have a victim in the home, and that's what you call helping the family. I mean, the two of y'all talked about that? Did you and Susan talk about that?
No.
It just never got discussed, right?
Well, when we were called in, she just never pressed charges.
Just never pressed charges. And so you knew you'd been caught, but you kept doing it anyway.
Yes.
And you realized that so you wouldn't feel lonely, you basically destroyed a young person's life. You just took it away from her. You just took it away from her. Do you get that? I'm trying to find somebody that gets what's going on here in this story.
I understand that, yes.
Anything you want to say to Susan or Heidi, your ex-wife or Heidi?
If anything, if they need a common enemy, somebody that they need to hate. To hate me.
Okay. I hope you're telling me the truth about what's happening in your life right now. I hope I'm not sending you back to wherever you go, putting children in jeopardy.
That's why I'm willing to go on with, if there's any furthers that we can do, I'm willing to do that.
Okay, I'm going to go talk to these ladies. All right?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe those are the only victims. I've got information about others. I don't think for a second that this is a safe situation. I'm going to go talk to Heidi and Susan when we come back. Well, I'm back on stage. I'm here with Susan and Heidi. I've just been backstage talking to John. We did not show his face. That is not his real name, which is part of the deal for him to be willing to talk about this. He was not willing to come out here and talk to this mother and daughter, whose both lives he impacted in a tragic way. What did you think about what he was saying?
I'm very confused, and I think to hear him say that he could prey on another child because it took something away from me, it makes me sick.
He said that you brought a friend in perhaps to take the pressure off of yourself.
Right. You know how old I was? 5. I remember.
What do you think about what he had to say?
I can't even talk.
Dr. Phil, I know from my other brothers and sisters that she's constantly calling him for things. I just don't understand. If you think he's such a horrible person, then what are you doing calling him all the time?
I have not called him all the time.
Let me say this to you. You say that you have forgiven him.
Yes.
And I actually hope that's true. You actually say that you've forgiven your mother.
Yes.
I don't believe that's true.
Okay.
I think you're working at it, but the bitterness in your voice, the anger, the angst, which you are entitled to till the ends of the earth, tell me that that's a work in progress. I think people do the best they can with what they have, and I think your mother, despite her defensiveness, I think she's trying to find her way to some point of clarity here. And when you forgive other people, it's really not about them. It's truly about you, because if you have anger and bitterness, hatred, any of those things in your heart for your mother or for John or for anyone else, it changes who you are. And your children don't get all of their mom. Your husband doesn't get all of his wife. Maybe the relationship starts by just exchanging a few notes. Maybe it starts with a 5-minute phone call once a month. Maybe it starts with some boundaries where we don't talk about the past. We're just going to talk about the here and now for this point. And maybe it never goes beyond that. Or maybe it does. But you take it a step at a time and you do what works for you. Anything I can do to offer resources to help heal this situation, I will do.
Can you help me understand? I don't understand. Heidi, please, just listen to me. I don't understand the minds of a pedophile. I've read on it. I don't understand
I do think
a
those
lot
are,
about it.
I do think those are things that I think it would be good for me to arrange a resource to walk you through those things and help you get some clarity. And you know,
the victimization.
'Cause she can say that and you can very understandably roll your eyes about it, but then let's do that. Let's answer that question and see if we can get to a point of harmony about that. I'm not saying you two should go into mother-daughter counseling at this point. I think you may want to do some individual things, and you may or may not, and then we'll see where that leads. All right? We'll be right back. There is no more precious treasure in life than your children. And make no mistake, our number one calling, it is an undivided loyalty to protect our children, to nurture our children, to prepare our children to move on in life. Sometimes those threats come from the outside. Sometimes they come from the inside. It's your job to watch both sides of that fence and know what's going on. If you need help with that, go to drphil.com. We'd love to hear your story, hear your questions. Thanks for being here today. So long.